to
Start over.
start over. Which one is harder on those three things? So basically, I cover it again. Okay, Nicole, to these guys, Hector, let's start with you. Yeah.
Hang on, just some clarity. When we say starting over, is it with the same person or another person?
No, as in starting from scratch.
Starting
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
scratch.
Yeah, but you
like
start over with.
in another relationship.
another
That's my
relationship.
understanding.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, in that sense, then you actually need
Before
to have.
okay, Hector, before we continue, let's just WhatsApp number.
Oh yes,
Guys, you can
it's
WhatsApp us
on 066 137 2723. 066 137 2723.
Yeah,
That's our
I
WhatsApp.
see again, Hector. Yes.
So ideally, you're supposed to sequence them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've got to let go, move on, and start over.
Yes.
In that sequence.
In that sequence,
but which is the hardest one to
of
achieve
those,
of those three.
Yeah.
I think it's the letting go, the first one.
Yes.
The first one. And I think the tragedy is that most people think they've moved on when they've not let go.
Yeah.
And they think they've started over when still they've not let go.
Yes.
So emotion, the other, any of the others would not really happen, not genuinely anyway, unless you've really managed to let go.
So I mean, for me, then the other question I'm gonna throw on this is, does this therefore mean that the ending of the relationship does not end per se without one letting go? So meaning you have to accept that this thing is gone. It's never going to happen again, because you can end the relationship, and one can be seen to be moving on because and at the same time you can look happy and doing all of these things just to spite the other person. Does
no,
that
it's possible.
happen?
No, it does happen.
It is, yeah.
And that therefore cannot be said to have moved on or having let go, basically.
No.
In fact, it's a classical case of what I was referring to as unrequited love.
Yeah.
You are in love with someone in a way that they are no longer, or they are not in love with
you.
So you do have this relationship that's not reciprocal.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's still a relationship. It's not reciprocal. Because we're to basically this relationship.
You're in love with someone that's not in love with you.
Yeah, you know. And then you say, because I am Zeki, let me opt for someone else. But in the figurative sense, or not in real sense, your heart is with the other person.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and again, have a I love him, but I'm in love with someone else.
No, that happens.
He's nice, he's a good guy, and all of that. But it's a chemistry thing. When they say, love but not in love with, which is I don't know whether to say cruel. It's sad.
I think it's a bit of confusion.
It is.
Yeah, cruel confusion. For me, I agree with Hector's saying that letting go, moving on and starting over. I've been through those stages whereby I had to let go of something I was invested in, of a relationship I was invested in, that ended abruptly when I knew that it was ending, or it had ended, but I hadn't come out of it, and then somehow it abruptly ended.
Yeah, sure.
And then now I was like, I thought there was still a chance to work things out, because I'm also an advocate of, let's thresh it out till we can't thresh it out anymore. Work through it, and then we can say, I know what, irretrievably broken. And now I had to start that process about, okay, oh my goodness, I had so much invested. You don't see yourself beyond this particular relationship. You don't see yourself with anybody else or starting another relationship. Like, oh my goodness. So now, which means go back to the drawing board, start from scratch.
Yeah.
And then for me, I allowed myself to let go. And I told myself, I don't know the time frame, but it can't be forever, obviously. It can't be more than 6 months. That's why I'm really grieving, And surely at some point, because now I'm going to start not taking care of myself, because when you don't let go, you kind of, what's the word? Like you kind of ignore yourself. You don't really take care of yourself to a certain level because now you're so invested in this thing that you're still holding on to. So now I had to cry it out. I had to like get rid of the memories, like the whole thing. Like try at least man shaken no 5% if I can't get rid of the whole 100%. Because there are things like, for instance, you know, like the last time I was working in this particular town, I was staying with whoever, with George,
sure,
you know, and then it triggers
so
you.
Reminders.
Yes, because now you can get rid of the memories, but there'll always be reminders, whether you like, especially in the first couple of months. Oh my gosh, it hits you. Oh my goodness. And then maybe you'll see a particular tea, maybe whatever, raspberry tea, for example. Like, oh, jeez.
Yeah,
no, because there are those like triggered memories. And then you start all over again. I remember like this particular, like that time, I had to go and work in PE. And then my friends like, no, let's go out and go have drinks. I'm like, no, I don't feel like going out. And it was so rare for us not to go out and have drinks and catch up because we hardly have time to catch up when we're at work. And I was like, no, man, can't they go right? So now I was like, not ready to share the details. Sure. So I chilled in my room. Then I kept on looking at this tea. And it made me so angry all over again. You know? And the thing is, now I enjoy it. That's a sad part. It's like
you used to enjoy it with someone else.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, no, man. So instead, what I did, I took the car and then I went to the nearest bottle store, bought my favorite champagne. Then I ordered ice. And I looked at the champagne. I didn't feel like drinking it.
It is tough.
It's tough. And I was like, you know what? Let me deal with this and not run away because I'm going to come back to this place again maybe in the next month or so. So now I'm not going to have this like, you know, regression every time. So I sat and I looked at this tea till I got bored of it. And I said, and I was crying. Even in the morning when I was making, because there was a coffee machine in the room. I was like, oh my goodness, espresso. Yo. So I had to go through that because now it's the triggered memories that you have to deal with, you know. And then you see a certain card that resembles, and then that's another. So there's so many like triggers that you have to like go through and let go of, so that every time ndibona whatever you know, a bag, then oh yeah, whatever. I need to go to that stage, you know. Not that every time when I see bag, my heart starts beating a million times, you know. So it's difficult because you don't want to, and then you still see his data is alarmed. So at some point I had to block.
I mean, guys, there's so much that's happening
like
because there is that element, you know, there is that
so
element.
So let it go. It's not easy because things hold you back.
In this day and age, I mean, really, that element of social media where this person is like all over.
Yes.
So they are still on your phone. Maybe you haven't blocked this
That's when I started
yet.
deleting the phone numbers and blocking.
That might actually be also a ritual in itself.
That's what I'm saying. It's like peeling an onion. So letting go, I think that's why people are afraid of going through the letting go stage. Because it's difficult. It's difficult.
I'm wondering though, when is it more difficult to let go? If there was where there was acrimony, in other words, it was ugly parting, or where it wasn't, because there are some instances where it wasn't. A friend of mine, I saw him languishing quite badly because the letting go was the breakup was circumstantial more than anything having gone wrong between them. One migrated to Canada. Then they tried to keep it going,
and then they
couldn't work it out with those new dynamics. You know.
No, when it's ugly, that's when it's not easy to move on. I don't know. I think so, because when you part on good terms, I feel it's easier. Be like, you know what? At least
because
there were no ugly words of exchange. There was no incidents where you'd say, you know what, Lom did me wrong.
No reason to stop loving them, sort of.
Well, it depends, because now you must decide for yourself now. Are you going to love this person from a distance and be able to move on and love another person when you decide to start another relationship? Because but I don't want to be in a relationship now. Yeah, there's no there's no attraction, there's nothing like like I've been in a situation whereby I realize no man, see right as friends we really like each other and we get along, but in a relationship we're not
okay, but that's different.
Yeah, I guess.
You would not have been in love with that person.
Hamza, Siabulisa Hamza, to you. Thanks for tuning in. And all of you guys, you can participate in this discussion via WhatsApp or on Facebook, which is Kitten Gesi Radio. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube there. 066-137-2723. So we're still continuing. The question we are asking is, which one is harder, letting go, moving on, and starting over? So we are just, I think, caught up in this discussion, on the letting go part.
Starting over is also quite difficult. Actually,
it
might be more.
We spoke about it. Remember, we spoke about the comparison. So part of the starting over continued.
Because I mean, quite often there's also the issue of have you not come in with some of the baggage or some of the elements and all of that sort of thing. You know.
So are you saying to me that even after you thought you have let go, let go, but there could be elements that you are bringing from that particular relationship into this one.
From somewhere. You're not starting
from scratch.
From scratch.
Often but
I think also, I mean, that could be true in many ways, because it's sometimes people think that people measure people based on the wrongs that the other person, because on the wrongs you also could start being suspicious based on the things that you could have seen. This is when we start. These are the signs that are not going okay, and perhaps it's deja vu of some sort, in some people. But also even on things that are right. Apparently and that you could bring that into the new relationship now. And that becomes an issue as well.
Including there's a love language.
Exactly.
So I mean, is it possible then when we speak to this that you could possibly, is it possible to really start from scratch, meaning starting over part? Because I mean, if there are those elements that you're bringing over, it means you have not totally let go. So which part in the middle here, the moving on and the starting over? How do you then, perhaps maybe that's the part, how do you make sure that when you get to this one, Yoti, start over, that all of these things have been ironed out? How do you?
Because I'm thinking, okay, fine. Moving on, I think most of us would think of it as when you get into a new relationship, you know you've moved on. But the question is, are you ready to start over? A new relationship. Of course, at the back of it is, have you moved on having let go? So I suspect that a lot do the moving on easily, in the sense that it's an observable thing. You're no longer in that relationship.
Yes.
But now, do you get there and start over? That depends probably a lot on how much you have let go. I'm glad that you did say, there might always be like a 5% or something like that. Because every person we encounter, and particularly people we have an intimate relationship with, they sculpt and resculpt us. Every person you encounter,
for sure.
shapes and reshapes you in some way or another. And I don't think that there's any real way of reversing and erasing all of that. There is the essential you, but the essential you gets influenced and shaped and reshaped as you go,
Of course.
So I suppose, I think one can only hope that it's the good things that you bring in to that relationship. Some relationships have been quite beneficial too. You'll find that you emerged out of it a better person than you were when you went into it. And therefore, in that sense, you're a gift. It's a gift to the next relationship.
Yes, no, definitely.
As it were,
Definitely.
But
that you are now actually a better person.
Yeah, it's possible that you could be a curse at the same time.
Oh yeah. That's
Even though you become a better person, but as you enter into the new relationship, is it maybe not advisable to kind of go into the new one on a clean slate, even though you have elements essential being aware, because sometimes clean slate does not necessarily mean that you've let go or you've taken away everything, but it's just being aware of the fact that I'm starting with a new person now, and therefore the same expectations, I need to be careful of those things whereas and when I see myself moving, because I think that's one of the things that maybe become pertinent is knowing and being aware of yourself when you are bringing those things over. I don't know if
in fact what I meant is maybe you would have become, for instance, less self-centered.
Yes.
Which is a gift to anyone. That you're no longer selfish.
Yes.
That you're more understanding. That you are more willing to extend yourself, for the sake of the other person. All that sort of thing.
Be more assertive,
that you are more confident in yourself.
Yeah.
You're no longer as, maybe you were more neurotic and more,
unaccepting of things.
Yes, So you might actually be a better person, but nevertheless, as you correctly pointed out, that consciousness that this is another person that I'm coming into a relationship with. Presumably, by the time you actually get into a relationship, you would have processed some of that.
Of course, no, true,
as it were, because you don't jump into a relationship. You kind of have reasons why you think you could get into a relationship with a person.
Yes, and
no, I think
with love at first sight.
Yes,
it hits you, but you don't get into a relationship with them immediately.
But I think Hector, for me, I think it's probably always advisable to, when we speak on these matters, to be of the assumption that we are speaking to people who are not always reasonable in their thinking, because really, I mean, if you are someone now who's just broken out of a relationship, and everything that we are saying here to you, it's not right, because number one, you are just maybe vindictive at the moment, you feel bitter that the person with relationship. So some of these things we have to assume the worst, that the situation of Uyo now is the worst in terms of your space and your thinking and all of these things, because most of the time really if people are scorned in relationships, they may also sometimes take those to the next relationship, and those
sometimes
are the things that
deliberately, not even consciously.
Deliberately. No, that's for sure.
So for you guys, I mean, talk to us about how you feel about the spaces that you have been and the space you are in right now.
I remember talking to a divorced woman who was saying, in my next marriage, uzawuvanga.
You see now.
That was then.
But you know what? My motto.
So already,
say wrong.
Yeah.
But no, I was gonna say zikhona izinto that, like what the actor just said now about this lady friend that also Vangam. Zikhona, like you cannot, Zotina, what is that saying, Ukwana, you can't treat the same way you would have loved to have treated that other person if they had treated you bad, whatever the story is. So zikhona izinto whereby don't go in aggressive into a relationship because someone was basically pushing you down and pulling you down all the time. You have to give Lamdo a benefit of the doubt. You must give them room to show you who they are, instead of saying, you know what, uzothi ukhe waqumba uzawubona pha kum uba ndimlungisa njani aphandle kwebhokhwe. So those are the things, because you will deal with people that have moods.
But you see, here's one of the challenges about all of this. When you fall in love, at least I think it's common for men, maybe not all men, but common. When they fall in love with a woman, it's almost like they're not in love with her in the first place, but what she represents.
Yes.
Which is why they start behaving like they are they've lost their minds.
It's what you sell.
Because in a romantic sense, mortals are always foolish in the form in the face of goddess or you know, that kind of thing. So when it doesn't work out, the impact is bigger than just that of losing a person. Because the woman they were in love with represents bigger than just this human being with all these fallibles and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which is why what you said earlier about almost like putting yourself through a process of working through all of this is very, very important. Otherwise, you just, in other words, my point is that your disillusionment with this person becomes can become your disillusionment with everything that they represent, which means all females.
Yes, no, true.
Which is why you're then likely to carry it into the
women are like
my eyes
that,
are open now.
Yes.
Whereas in fact, what simply happened is that the real human got revealed beyond this ideal thing that you had, image which you had built around this person. So I think it takes quite a bit for one to be able to truly move on, as it were.
Just to interject there, Hector, when you say that this image or the real person comes out and then it kinds of now erases what you represented, is it because it's the illusion that person built in their mind, or is the person that they were falling in love with or they're falling in love with is representing another facade or a facade?
No, well, earlier on you spoke about believing in well, let's work it through. In fact, that's a moment for working it through. When kind of the goddess is no longer is sort of divested and the real person is revealed. Then it's a time to work it through. But sometimes your disillusionment, your disappointment might be so great. Particularly if you lack maturity in that sense. That already that in itself puts the relationship on the rocks. You know, and once it puts that relationship on the rocks, you might go on look in an unending quest for this goddess. I hate this psychoanalytic thing.
But it's I think it's the reality of things in terms of all of us in the beginning. That's who we fall for. You can never put wrong in a foot wrong in the beginning. Everything that you say.
What's that song? When a man loves a woman.
Everything about you is like 100%. You know, the features on the face and all of these things. You know, everything. Your voice and an end. But when it comes down deep to it, where now we actually we call it the rubber hits the road. That's when
you can put up with everything. They moods and they are cute. They are this. They move you into this direction. But eventually,
when the rubber hits the road,
I love it when you're mad.
And also particularly the other things that creep into, and this is one of the things with the relationships, is that they move themselves or migrate from just being about you now. Then they are sisters, they are brothers, they are they are all of these people that get involved, friends, who in the beginning, when your friends were warning you or talking about you didn't want to
saw a
listen.
hero and
when a man loves a woman,
is it Zeus, not God?
So, but I mean, like, one of the things that kind of as we're about to close on this, I think I did share with you guys Tyrese's ex-wife.
Yes.
She goes on social media,
podcast.
saying that she shouldn't have listened to what other people were saying about Tyrese and so forth. She now realizes this thing,
made a wrong decision.
She made a wrong decision. And she goes on social media, but that's another thing for me that kind of where I kind of wanted to call this psychologist. But the reality of it is that the relationships will always face adversity, and how you are mature about it. And sometimes people can make you really fit the villain that they show your next what you call, I mean, your partner to be.
Yes.
So it really needs you to, there's a certain element of you being trusting, a certain element of you being vigilant about the person, but also possibly that there would be elements that would be true about what these people are saying. So that's how difficult this whole scenario of relationships is, guys.
Really, really
is that ultimately, whether you take or decisions that are pro what people are saying or against what people are saying, but I think at the ultimate end of it, you have to be in a position where the relationship ends. And this is what I always say: you must know or feel it in yourself that you've done everything that you can as a person to save that relationship, so that it's easier maybe to get to these parts we are talking about, the letting go and the moving on, because you would have done your part, other than letting other people influence you into taking decisions that you will regret later on. I wonder how much of that also maybe works in relationships where you end a relationship because of what people may have said. And this is perhaps what we are seeing in this woman. She has not let go because she now realizes
which is why your point is important, that you must satisfy yourself that as it were you have exhausted
all options
in this one, and therefore you can let go, because indeed there's nothing there.
No, definitely.
You don't have if onlys. Maybe if only you no longer have that. Although that's still hard, you can still ask yourself, have I really exhausted?
Exactly.
Maybe I could have.
That's the thing. And
because really, if we're in love, it's tough.
But also, I mean, the scenarios can also, guys who are listening, become even much bigger when we speak about issues of marriage, abandwana, those scenarios become where there are kids involved.
So it's not just the two of you.
The scenarios actually go a little bit further than what we are discussing, because now you not letting go, and I wonder how that affects your kids then. How does it affect that
That's
relationship?
quite interesting. Even the dynamics we were talking about.
Yes.
This is no longer about the tea and the coffee, and there's a real person here.
Exactly.
We'll always be reminding you.
Because I mean,
and in fact, who keeps the relationship between this person and you going?
Exactly. Precisely.
Which is a nightmare for most of the time for new people in relationships. Because where there is no attachments is sometimes easier, and perhaps maybe much more easier on the one hand not to understand. But when there is a child involved, it's a difficult one, because now constantly Lona has to engage with this person that they think that they've let go, but they've actually not moved on. But they are in a relationship, so everyone thinks that but by udityanwa ngabantwana uyafa omnye uyaphela.
It's a different letting go, but and I feel sorry for people that where kids are involved now, because you're not thinking only about yourself. Now it's about forever, basically. So it's difficult.
Look, guys, I think in the gist of everything that we're saying, when you decide or when you break away from a relationship, I think for me, Hector, you would assist now as Spokie, that you have to be completely aware of your movements. If you have not let go, be aware of that, and try and deal with that part. If you've let go, also be aware in terms of how you've let go, and so that when you move on to the next relationship, you are self-aware of the many things that you will not bring in, and the things that, I mean, for me, the starting on a clean slate is very much important. Not in the sense that you will never be thinking backwards, but you will always be aware of the circumstances.
Yeah,
Am I correct?
I think that's the most critical part.
Yeah.
That awareness that even when you slip up, you are able to self-correct. And or recognize that no, this is not about now. This reaction I'm exhibiting now is not about this moment. Then you can self-correct.
Yes.
So that awareness.
It is Spokie. I'm on God. Yeah, I would say I mean, those things they really they blow very big time in some relationships.
And they do.
It's like you expected it to react this way because that's how the So when you were already anticipating that particular reaction,
that's why sometimes you need to think before you react.
Wow, guys, relationships are a lot of hard work.
Which is why if you can keep them and work through them, just work.
Just do it. Yeah.
Otherwise you bleed all over people.
Even like when you start a new relationship, ufanele ba ubhuti Lester mhlambi utyanga in a certain way uqomba othi.
I can. Even men, there are certain things. Guys, the time is 3:04, and we are going to go into some music, and after that we do our current affairs. As Spokie now takes us on a journey of the many hard things that happened this week, that we'll discuss. And so we're pausing on this relationship part, but if we're now Safunu Galela, it's fine, continue doing that. And the music we are going to be playing now is I think I want to go for something that Hector would love. Phil Collins, I Wish It Would Rain Down.
Yes.
Absolutely.